it was like that obsessive, like I want to spend every single second with you that I possibly can. Yeah. So we worked together.
And I felt the same way.
Take a girl and a guy, and they fall madly in love and form a family. Sprinkle in some counseling degrees and a doctorate, a dream of transforming relationships as we know it. And 20 years later, we give you power couple Dr. Ray and Jean Ketkodian. And this is their podcast, Couples Synergy.
Welcome back to another episode of Couples Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Jean. And this is our podcast about love, marriage, and relationships.
Check us out online at couplesynergy.com and be sure to subscribe to our podcast or send us any suggestions on topics you'd like to hear more about. And now on to Couple Synergy, an in-depth look at love, marriage, and relationships, where we bring you our experiences with working with thousands of couples for over 15 years.
You know, every day we get to hear intimate details about a couple's celebrations, disappointments, and everyday challenges. We've often wished these stories were shared because we know we are more similar than different. And so we've not only created an avenue where you can hear people's intimate lives, but an atmosphere where people come over to our home pub, pour a drink, and share their stories.
People like today's guests, Paul and Faith.
Hello.
Hello.
That was good. Can I say that was good?
That was good.
You guys got that down. That's a hard thing to do. I don't think people realize it. That's a hard thing to do. Is
intro?
To do that. And
thank you.
That was really good.
Really
I'm impressed.
Appreciate that. We've been doing it a few times
because I'm the authority. You know, I'm the authority on it. So
well, the consumer is right.
Yeah. I guess so.
Thank you for being on the podcast. Really appreciate you guys being in here.
Excited.
Before we get to your story, which I think is going to be a really interesting one, tell us a little bit about yourselves and how old are you? What do you guys do for a living?
Oh, God.
How long have you been together?
I'm about to be 31. I'm a tattooist. I know it sounds bad, right? It's terrible.
Wait,
it's not even like a youthful.
You're 31.
Am I? No.
You're 31.
No, 87. Still 30.
Are you sure?
I don't know. Who
I think
who
you're
cares?
31.
Forget your age.
It doesn't matter, does it? We're all going to die.
It doesn't matter. No.
What swearing?
Doesn't matter.
All right, good.
Adult program.
I didn't want to accidentally. I'm a tattooist from suburbs of Chicago. That's really, I don't do much besides that. I work a lot. It's what I love to do. I paint, make videos, anything artistic.
Yeah, jack of all trades.
Yeah,
artistic wise.
Yep.
Awesome.
What about you, Faith?
Yeah, what about you, Faith?
I actually had to think about my age too. I'm 27. I'm also a tattooist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I forget that sometimes.
Is that what a tattooist?
Okay,
is that a word?
That's a whole thing.
Or is it tattoo artist?
It's been like a whole thing, like trying to figure out. Some people go by tattooer.
Tattooer. I hate that.
I like tattoo artist, but I don't think I've earned that. Like Paulie's a tattoo artist. You know,
that's like advanced level.
I don't know. Even just the word. I think the word artist gets thrown around so much that like. I don't even really apply it to. I think one day I'll apply that word to myself. You know,
okay.
When it went, but I don't really think in the grander in the grander understanding of what that means. I mean, I tell people I'm an artist because I make things and people pay me.
Yeah,
right.
I think you've reached that level.
Well, whatever. But no. I'm saying the grander sense of the word.
Is this modesty?
Yeah,
maybe no, or I'm just like
delusional,
or I'm just like I don't know, whatever.
Like if there's anybody that's an artist, it's you.
I guess I don't know.
Anyway,
so how long have you guys been together, and how many kids do you have?
We've been together since 2010, so 8 years now.
Yeah,
and then we have one child. She's 3. Her name is Sable.
Yep.
Can you guys tell us the story of how you met?
We met. I got tattooed by him.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was 18.
18. She was a young.
Yep. I walked into Skin of a Different Color in Aurora.
Was this your first tattoo?
No. So it was my first, I call it my first tattoo because I actually got my first tattoo. I was in Spain for my 18th birthday and I don't drink. And so I wanted to do something because I'm in Spain on my 18th birthday.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a very conservative girl at that point.
Oh, we're starting to open
so conservative. So I didn't actually want a tattoo because, you know, tattoos are for criminals. Everybody knows
dirty
that.
People.
Criminals.
And so I got a tattoo on the bottom of my foot. It was a bucking bull that said Olay underneath it.
Is it still there? I heard those wear off.
No, it's like half there.
It's like half there, which is such a bummer because I would love to have that tattoo now, but you know.
It's a pretty sensitive area, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
The tattoo, that tattoo
Rookie move.
absolutely hated me. Hated me. I mean, I'm a girl, an 18-year-old girl with a bunch of other girls on a high school educational trip.
Americans in Spain, you know.
You can imagine how terrible that
Cream
was.
of the crop.
So that was actually my first tattoo, but this was my first tattoo that was going to stay, but I actually did cover it up. So
yeah, so she came in and I just got assigned, you know, people get put on the list. It's a very busy shop, so it was walk-ins only. So a lot of times you'd get there in the morning, there'd be a line out the door.
Wow.
Yeah, I just got assigned her tattoo. And to be honest, we you know, we've gone over this. She could have been another one, you know, one of the 10,000 people that I've tattooed that looks like an 18-year-old white girl from, well, you didn't say, but you're from Northern Michigan. You moved here from Northern Michigan. But, you know, I did not notice her. It was just a stupid little tattoo I was doing on it was a basic white girl tattoo on a wrist. And I think, sometimes
you're going to insult a bunch of people.
It's okay. It's okay. Well, stop getting, I don't know what to tell you.
That's your fault.
It's not my fault.
Well, they can get direction from your guys' podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
Just do the Bill Burr thing.
Yeah. What are you doing to me? I just did a small tattoo on her. I think I sometimes in that shop, especially, there was a really good culture of people that worked there that we would mess with clients. So, this very, very talented tattooist, Ryan Utini, would be in the next room. Yeah. You're welcome, Ryan. And he would say shit like, that guy in the next room over there, Paul. Yeah, this morning he was backing out of his driveway and he ran over his cat. And he would just lie, and I would be hearing this stuff, and then people would walk by, and I would like play into it, and there was a lot of it was a lot of fun. So I think that what I had brought up to you, did I bring it up? Maybe I brought it up, but your sister was with you actually.
My boyfriend.
Oh, see, I don't even remember. Oh, wow. I don't even remember.
So yeah, my boyfriend and my sister were with me, and we talked about donating.
Did I bring it up?
I don't know.
I think I saw it on something.
I was 18, so I probably didn't know about donating your eggs.
I just randomly was like, you can get like $40,000 for donating an egg.
You just
like to throw people off. It's a fun thing. People are like uncomfortable, so you throw them curveballs. Right. And, it's a fun thing to do because especially to, naive, I mean, I was naive at the time in retrospect, but
I know you were only 22, I think.
But why don't you tell everybody what happened after you got tattooed for the first time? And what did you go home and tell all your
officially tattooed for the first time?
Right. So unfortunate for, I guess, having a boyfriend at the time. I met him and I sure remembered him. And I went and I told like everybody, like I was like, oh, my tattoo artist, Paul, we're getting married.
Wow. Like playfully,
just like, oh yeah, my future husband. And
what was it that you had those strong feelings? What was it about?
It was the egg donor.
I looked like a homeless person.
I
had long hair,
So I was ultra conservative, as we've said. So I was kind of at the time, you're 18 and you're in college and you're breaking out of that shell that you've had. And so, like kind of the ultimate bad boy, like a tattoo artist that does, he paints and he's an artist. So it was immediately, I think, more like cool guy.
It was just taboo.
Cool guy, starstruck sort of thing.
Looking back at my tattoo career, and, I've always been a little bit more of a shy person, a conservative, especially with relationships. I never knew how to handle it, how to like do things, Man, looking back, I could have taken advantage of that way more because it's like people, they don't, they think it's like a rock star. It's not. I just draw on people and, But I tricked her, which is cool.
For the experience of the person getting tattooed, you are being permanently changed.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
it is
Yeah.
impactful.
Right.
It's way more intimate for the client than it is, because it's just your job,
So,
which it's cool.
How many tattoos did you have to get before he noticed you?
2.
So
because
this is interesting.
Because I went, this whole metamorphosis that I'm going through. I've always had long blonde hair, wearing Hollister polos and khakis, like super conservative.
So northern Michigan.
I cut all my hair off into like a really short pixie. Apparently that's memorable.
That's what did it for you.
I saw her and it was just different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I equate that sort of hairstyle to like maybe, I was thinking about this and I was thinking about the podcast and about the story and about the haircut thing. And I thought of this. It's probably because, I think I'm attracted more to stronger women, and I think somebody that shaves their head like that, she just winked at me. I want everybody to know she winked at me.
We're videoing if we do this again.
Yeah, we definitely.
I saw it and it looked really good on her. And how many people can pull off really short hair? And she was about to get a tattoo from another artist named Charlie Barkavich. Is that how you say his last name?
Who knows?
I'm sorry, Charlie. I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry, Charlie.
Thin line, Batavia. And I walked by and she goes, "Oh, that's the guy that did my last tattoo." Meaning, now I'm going to, go with him again. And I like stop and I'm like, me? What?
Did you remember?
Yeah, I remember walking by. I remember seeing her. And I'm like, ooh.
But do you remember that you did the tattoo before?
The first time?
Yeah, the first time. No.
No, not until I saw the tattoo. And then even then it was real fuzzy.
Well, and I looked,
totally different.
Completely different.
It totally transformed like her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I started doing my makeup different. Like everything was different.
Why'd you cut your hair?
She got a touch of the bad boy,
I don't know. I think it was just wanting like an extreme, like I think, the whole just taking on a new identity, maybe, because I have no idea. Like, I don't even know if I thought short hair was cool because it's like, I was just so conservative.
But you were a little, she was a little lost at the time, in retrospect for everybody, there's certain ages that you go through where you're just totally disoriented by your surroundings and about your preconceived notions of what your life's going to be like, and then your reality and ages and different responsibilities, and it just jumbles you up. It definitely happened for me, So she was definitely going through that period of time, being in college and stuff like that, and things not going, would you say, the way that you thought they would go? So weren't you you were like pre-med or something?
It was
so high strung person.
Yeah.
So, but that all came crumbling down.
Yeah.
Which, but
how long before the first tattoo and the second tattoo?
I don't know.
It had to have been like a month.
Yeah. Like I started getting tattooed pretty quickly because I don't know if it was, I'm sure it was part of like a new identity being like, I want to get tattooed and, that sort of thing. But I was definitely very obsessed with the idea of him. So,
which really worked for me because remember, I'm not the type of person that was comfortable with going out. I didn't know how to talk to women in any sort of way, So a girl that was aggressive, was like perfect. All I had to be was like, okay, I just had to consent, to every step of the relationship essentially until we were together. Right. Which was like great.
It was definitely like, I think 18-year-old women are just, sometimes they get that little,
they got hormones.
They got that zing that then they lock onto a guy and I locked on. And the only way to see them that's, like without having to make a strong move is just get another tattoo.
So did you break up with your boyfriend right away?
That happened. I think that was not like a good thing happening there. So that
she was playing it real loose. You know what I mean?
I think at the time, I don't know if I knew you at that point or if it was right before I met you. I think I was like kind of loosely seeing like a few people maybe. Like I think I was like doing
she's dating
because I had been in college. I had the high school boyfriend for a year and then went into college with him. And then once that, that's the first love. So, when we broke up, it was, pretty traumatic for me.
Right.
And so I think I went that was kind of the catalyst to everything a little bit. It was college and breaking up with your high school boyfriend, like everything kind of started to crumble. And I went away to college. So, being on my own and then the one, losing all your anchors.
So she wasn't tied down, essentily.
So it wasn't a serious boyfriend. And I think I was, kind of doing the like, oh, I'm going to date, like I'm gonna date people that I meet. Somebody at Starbucks, I asked for their number when I got coffee. Like
aggressive.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I got real zingy for a little bit.
Is there anything you would say to a girl going through that now that, she's been with a guy in high school, that whole college thing is tough, and then it's so devastating when you break up? What would you say to her, someone who's in the middle of that right now?
Ooh, that's a lot of pressure for that question. Gosh, go to therapy. I went to therapy and it was, just having a guiding light during that time. That's, you don't know what life is about at all at that point. You think you do, but you have no idea. And having a mature person be able to guide you out of that is, and somebody who's trained to do it, your parents don't always know what to say. And, I think relationships at that point are really complicated with your parents. And just having somebody, to talk to that, gives you actually good advice, unlike your friends at the time, probably. Yeah.
And the pain does go away.
Oh my.
It doesn't feel like it at the time.
You'll
it's
laugh.
Really, it
you'll
changes.
Laugh at that.
At the time when we met, I was actually in a relationship for a few months, and right, I had just started interviewing.
Yeah, we were both in like silly relationships, I guess.
Yeah,
silly relationship.
Well, see, I was in a relationship when kind of a year out of high school, and then I started tattooing, and then it complicated the relationship for a bunch of reasons. A lot of which was my problems with anxiety and not wanting to live a life in your 20s. Mm-hmm. I didn't want that because of a lot of reasons. One, because of my anxiety and my social issues, and also me wanting to become something. And I didn't really care about anybody else. Not I didn't care about her. I didn't care about anything that people typically care about in their 20s. I didn't care about social life. I didn't care about anything. I just wanted to do something. I wanted to feel worthy of whatever, worthy of being on the planet and doing what I'm doing, whatever, existential crazy stuff.
Sure.
So we had broken up, and I had gotten an official apprenticeship. And all I did was I shut the world out, and I just focused my vision to a pinpoint. So wow. I moved back in with my dad.
Literally a pinpoint.
Literally.
Yeah.
And I would go to the shop at noon, and I'd be there until 5 o'clock in the morning. And all I would be doing is tattooing and painting. This time I had very little skill. I think the biggest skill intrinsically that I had was my focus. I think that people confuse the focus with talent a lot of times, because I have a weird thing about talent in the arts. I think it's kind of fake. I think you have a disposition when you're younger, but I think it takes actual brain power to get to a point where you're a professional and you're proficient at what you're doing. But so I took that time. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not even going to deal with it. I'm not going to deal with my social anxiety. I'm not going to deal with anything. I'm just going to try to create like a foundation for myself, a little place where I can be. So that's what I did. And so my college years, my 20s were spent, instead of in college, that's what my college was, is being just as focused as possible. And it was tough because the shop that I was in, great people, but it was an old school shop.
So this girl is stalking you at your job.
Stalking.
Yeah. So the fast forward, that's how I got into tattooing. So I had gotten another relationship kind of in the same way, where a girl was interested, and I was just like, okay, but I didn't have any strong feelings. Her feelings started to get stronger, and I was very uncomfortable with that because my feelings didn't mirror hers, and that made me feel really guilty. And I was just kind of like, she was so nice, she was nice to me. But, once I met Faith, it was just, there was actual chemistry So
do you guys know about the Enneagram?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's the peacemaker. So that'll make a lot of his behavior make sense, is that he doesn't want to upset anybody.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. Yeah.
He dated a girl for a year just not to upset her.
Not real. I mean, it was more, some of it was laziness too. You know, I mean, it's not a good thing. It's just a different fault, you know, but you know, basically coming back to the story. So she started getting tattooed again, coming back more and more. And, you know, it became more obvious, a little bit of like chemistry, maybe in my, you know, that stage of a relationship where it's like, maybe it's just in my head, maybe it's just in her, or she's thinking maybe it's just in her head, but it's actually a real thing, you know?
This is like tattoo number 3 or something?
This would be like tattoo number 2.
Tattoo number 2. Oh no, that was a quote. So tattoo number 3, I brought him like some sort of like henna tiger. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
And he just came down with a different drawing, like not even close. Like he came down with just a different thing. And he was like, okay, so you want to do that? And I'm just like,
sometimes if people are coming very often, sometimes I'll just I'll give them like a slap to wake up in a sense, you know, and I'll be like, okay, you want cool tattoos? I'm going to give you cool tattoos, but you got to follow my lead. That sort of thing. Yeah. Because a lot of people, they can go down this path where they want a lot of tattoos and they end up with bad tattoos. They don't know anything about tattoos. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like that. And there's a little bit of a flirtatious thing going on there.
Yeah.
So I basically came down. I'm like, how about that? And she liked it. So, which is the elephant on her side, which with a quote or whatever, which is same kind of culture. It came from an Indian art sort of thing, but it was a better tattoo.
But didn't during the second tattoo, you realized you would marry me?
Yeah. No, maybe it was the bowl. The bowl. One of them. I didn't realize I would marry you, but you know, I was just thinking. Yeah, she's got a bowl, like a bowl on her. She's got a lot of weird
I got like this weird Spain kick going where I was just like really into bowls.
See, that's one of the things that happens with tattoos. They get one tattoo and they're like, well, this is my thing now. And they keep getting the same type of tattoo.
It's getting lasered off probably.
But, yeah.
So your relationship is like the history is by tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
You can see
totally
like chronological.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. It's written on her body essentially.
So
you know?
Faith, did you consider like, what part of my body am I going to let him work on next?
You know, so I didn't think that. I was mostly going with non-visible tattoos, which is
exposes torso,
more intimate.
Yeah,
and I definitely remember that being a chemistry thing. You know, you're more exposed, and you know
what? That did happen, and obviously it turned into more, but that does happen regularly. But it when you're a professional, right, and you have a person that is exposing themselves, there is a weird intimacy. But as long as a tattooist, as you're super professional and you're courteous, it becomes comfortable, and then you get into a space where you're like, this is intimate, but it's not in a sexual way. I'm I need to do my job. You need to be comfortable because that's how you're going to enjoy the experience. So just relax. And then it does become like intimate, but there's very clear lines in obviously everybody's mind.
Like a medical professional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think when, two people have chemistry and, in that sort of sense, I think it really jump starts a relationship when what you're doing is intimate, especially as a client, newly getting tattooed, that like, had we gone on 3 dates instead of 3 tattoo appointments,
it might have gone slower.
I don't think things would have, and you feel like you know somebody so well because you're talking to them the whole time. And for someone with tattoos, just the intimate thing that's going on, people just tell you things. So like you talk about way deeper things and you get to know each other a lot quicker than staring at each other over coffee.
But anyway, she came in to get tattooed. You brought up the marriage thing on my part. So, I wasn't super committed to the relationship I was in. There was this young girl that it seemed very bubbly around me, obviously was happy to be there. And she was wearing kind of workout clothes. And I'm like, oh, she takes care of herself. She's obviously very intelligent the way she speaks. She's very lighthearted and very like it's fun to be around. And I'm like, man, that I did have a moment where like that, but a very abstract. You might have that 1,000 times in your life before you get married one day,
Sure,
but I did have that experience.
I'm going to buy into it.
Okay, you buy into it. But the thing that changed for real is when her card got declined for paying for the tattoo.
Oh,
so this is where the story
Did it
turns.
get declined?
Yeah. Well, here's what happened.
Oh.
I gave her a business card, and because I'm a moron, I made business cards that were refrigerator magnets. Well, you put a business card next to
your credit card.
A credit card. I'm not so much now, I don't think.
Oh,
actually.
then it erases it.
It erases it.
Yeah.
So I went to go run her card and it didn't work. And then there was a little bit of, obviously I knew that she wasn't going to run out the door. I was cool. I could tell she was more nervous about it than I was, obviously. And I was like, okay, well then you got to come back here. So what I did is I literally tied a piece of tape around her finger, like a little, like 1950s. Oh, tie a string around your finger so you remember. That's stupid shit. So
how cute.
Yeah. So I tied a thing around her finger. I think that's when it started to change, because then we were outside of the tattoo area and we were talking about something other than tattooing, outside of just the room.
Talking about money.
Yeah, talking about money. And that changed it. And then the next day she came back, right? And she paid me because he owed me money.
And
pay me.
He was a smoker at the time.
Yeah.
So, it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm going to go outside and have a smoke. And so you probably had to smoke 6 cigarettes to sit there and talk to me for a couple of hours.
So she was walking out, she paid me. And then we were talking as she was walking out the door. And then I followed her outside and I started to have a cigarette. And then we started talking. I think you were like, guess which car is my car?
Yes, I was going to say, I wonder if you
and I'm
that's
like,
such an 18-year-old girl thing to do.
I'm like, okay, she's 18 years old. She's in college. It's got to be this
red convertible BMW.
No, it's like
it was. I pointed to I remember
white car.
A Saturn. No, it was a Saturn. It was a red Saturn. I'm like, sun damage and shit. And she's like, no, that's not my car. All offended, like a Northern Michigan Gaylord, whatever. But it was like this nice Nissan Xterra, like super nice car. I'm like, that's your fucking car?
Well, and I grew up in Northern Michigan in a snow belt. So you had to have an SUV. And that was definitely.
Yeah. Talk to some people in Detroit. They're all driving around in SUVs.
Disclaimer. We love Detroit and Upper Michigan for all you listeners up there.
But she comes from a successful family, and which is not a negative thing. It's a positive thing. But I didn't necessarily come from a monetarily successful place. So I was like, damn, you can drive around running Nissan.
So how did you guys get to a first date?
We never, we did go on a first date. But
yeah,
we
did.
already dating.
Yeah.
So what happened was I kept getting tattooed and...
if you're paying, it's not actually dating.
I think that's called something else.
Oh, yeah. You're a whore.
Actually, that would make you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah, all right. I'm a whore. It's weird how, like, the emotion switch when the male-female part switches.
You're a winner now.
Yeah.
So that was getting expensive. And I probably just was trying to weasel my way in, like just trying to get in. And so I had wanted a full back piece and that would have been really expensive. And so he conveniently got me a job at the shop as the desk girl and I worked for free for trade.
Yep.
And
then we started spending a lot of time together.
It was just a ploy to be around him.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the original question? Oh, the first date. So then we spent a time in limbo there where we were just spending a lot of time together. We never really crossed any line at all until after I had broken up. He wouldn't even give me a hug.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that. I'm not that type of dude.
He's highly ethical. So there's clearly something going on, but
even she knew. Like even my girlfriend at the time, she knew. She would like look at me and be like, you can text her. She said that to me once, and I'm like,
whoa.
because she knew, she had a feeling that we were starting to,
Mm-hmm.
we were starting to split apart, and she knew.
Yeah.
So,
Like being 18 and being young and just dating people, it was fine. If that happened, later on, and you're living with something and you're living with somebody and you're texting them constantly and calling them when you go to Meijer to get frozen pizzas every night. Like he would leave the house to be able to call me.
that was my diet too.
Because
Red Bull cigarettes and
she was
pizza.
living with him, but it was in his dad's house and she had to rent a room. So they weren't. Like,
she was
wasn't
in
like
a situation where
Yeah.
she was adopted, and her family was just terrible people from down south, and she was living up here with her aunt, and her aunt was very old, or not even her aunt. It was like her friend's aunt that she, adopted as her own aunt. And it was just a bad situation. So she got her own room. I laid it down. I never led her on. And I'm sure she can attest to that. It was very like, you're going to stay here, but it's as a help for you.
Mm-hmm.
I had my room. She had her own room. We had separate areas and stuff. And that got messy, as you could imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Not as messy as you think,
Yeah,
just real super awkward.
Sure.
Just
Yeah.
hyper awkward.
Yeah, but he had to go to Meijer every single night to be able to call me.
Yeah. But
And frozen pizzas.
I don't really remember, I remember breaking up with her eventually. And I remember when you
The
didn't
penguin
hug me.
hug?
Oh my
Penguin
God.
hug.
Oh my God. I think
I
it was
don't know what this
after
was about, though.
after she's a robot. God, she's a robot. So after we had my ex and I had broken up, and then things were like, okay, now everything's in the clear. Everything's good. We could start developing our relationship a little bit more. We were outside, we were locking up the shop or whatever. And I was leaving, and I went to go give her a hug, and she just dead arms the side of her arms.
Yeah, I don't remember why.
She didn't open her arms. She did nothing. I just very awkwardly hugged her cylinder-like body as her arms were at her side. And, immediately I died inside. I don't know if I ever really recovered.
It was like a long-term, not like a long-term
Yeah.
problem, but it was like this thing in his brain that I hadn't hugged him back, and I don't remember
Well, it was
I don't know
for
what
me,
happened.
I'm not outgoing in that way. So I'm like, I was thinking to myself, at some point I got to do something.
Right.
I can't,
Right.
I got to do something. I got to man up, and
Give her a
hug
hug.
sounded like a good start, and it was just straight penguin hug. And I'm like,
Did you let it go too long? Is that what happened?
No,
because there was a lot of flirtatious thing
Okay.
happening at work. I think I licked your eye at one point. That was
no,
weird.
yeah,
That's
before
kind of weird.
Yeah, it is weird.
before
Yeah.
our first kiss, he licked my eyeball.
What?
Oh.
Yeah, I don't.
How does that
It was
happen?
like
I
we were
have-
just messing around.
So there was
and-
definitely a story, but it being 8 years
It's
ago,
not sanitary.
I don't know if he wanted there was something about why he did it. It was definitely weird. It was mostly two people that didn't know how to get to the next step physically.
we were just being
so,
silly.
So you're just trying to
Uh-huh.
come into contact.
Was
as
your
much as
eyelid
possible.
open or closed?
No, it was on
No.
purpose.
no, it was like
But
it was
it was something
open
Yeah,
or
yeah.
closed.
open.
Yeah,
I licked her eyeball.
Yeah.
no, it
I
was.
touched retina.
Oh
You know
my
what I'm saying?
I just feel like
Yeah, it's-
without the backstory that we can't remember, it wasn't that weird when it happened. We had been there had been something going on.
It was something like this.
Like
we're
a dare or
We're being
yeah,
goofy.
yeah, something.
We're being goofy.
Yeah.
And maybe I said something like, I bet I can't, it would be gross to just lick your eyeball. And then, I did it. And then our first kiss was upside down. You remember that?
Oh, like the
It was-
Spider-Man
Yeah.
kiss.
Yes, it was.
Ours was too.
Yes, it was.
I think you just
Right.
grabbed me and I think you just
maybe.
I think you just no, was it upside? I don't even
think it
remember
was
this.
upside down. I think it was upside down.
I think
I think you were in a chair. You were in at the front desk area. And at this point, we were really comfortable physically, or because we had been flirting and doing all this sort of stuff. And then I just went in and I did it. And I don't even know if the penguin hug was before or after. It could have been the same day, which is why it's permanently branded in my mind as being
Yeah.
the terrible thing.
I remember the first kiss though was definitely awkward.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like just having to break the ice.
And
I'm just going to slam my face into yours real quick.
And she's, robot. Anytime anything's like awkward or anything like that, she'll just be like, that was awkward. She won't let it go. She won't let it go. She'll like, she just does that. I don't like, for example, I tell everybody this.
Yeah.
If you're out in a place you're out in a place and you're amongst people, you're at a party or something that maybe you don't really want to be at or whatever, and which is like every party for me. And you're trying to make non-vocal communication with your significant other, like, let's get the fuck out of here. Or, hey, you want to maybe leave now immediately? That sort of thing. She'll look at me and she'll like stop her conversation and she'll stare at me across the room and go, what? What? Why are you looking at me like that? What do you want? Do you want to leave? What do you want? And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Are you bored talking to that person?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
she's just totally
I'm
robot.
I'm like maybe I could get some sort of like sliding scale on Asperger's or something.
Yeah,
like
you
that.
you can probably you might be able to
heard
get
of that.
you might be able to get like a part of your tuition paid. You know what I mean?
Some type of grant somewhere.
You're on the spectrum.
Did you ever actually ask her out?
No, not really. It was just our whole relationship.
Just licked your eyeball.
Yeah. Our whole relationship was it felt very natural, and it felt just like things happened when they happen naturally. It was almost like our lives kind of like started to weave together. It wasn't. It was
very intense though. For me, sort of a lust at first sight sort of thing. Like it was not a slow burn. Like it was. It was
there was that. I mean, she's 19.
It was,
whatever,
you're that young, and it was right away. Once we had gotten rid of any roadblocks, it was like I think I moved in with you. Like I unofficially,
not really,
but it was like that obsessive. Like I want to spend every single second with you that I possibly can.
Yeah.
So we worked together,
and I felt the same way.
And I mean, we were just instantly like as much time as we possibly could. I was essentially living at his dad's house. He was renting a room from his dad at the time, and I spent every single night there.
But before, I mean, we got to probably move forward. But before I forget, there was a time when we were sitting in the basement of my dad's house, and I'm sitting next to Faith, and my ex-girlfriend is sitting in the room next to her.
Well, she didn't move out right away because she didn't have like a support system where like, you move back in with your parents or you do something like.
Sure.
So she lived there for a little while.
So everybody tried, she tried very hard to be like, it's cool. She was
she was pretty good about it.
She was good. I mean,
she hates me, but
she was dying inside for sure.
She hates me. Yeah.
But she tried really hard, which was another reason why it was hard to like, hurt her because she was so kind in that way.
Right.
But she ended up dating this guy, and then she got.
I think we care about that.
Yeah, well, she got pregnant. I thought it was mine. I didn't do the fucking math.
Oh, yes.
Charlie Berkavich, whatever, thin line, you bastard. He walks into the room while I'm tattooing. He goes, "Hey, I hear Amanda's pregnant." And I'm just like, what? This is pretty soon after we broke up. And my client, just his eyes got real wide and was like, "Ooh, this is going to be good." And Charlie's just like, "Oh, it's yours. It's yours." Giving me shit or whatever. And then I called her immediately, and I'm like, "Oh, so you're pregnant?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, I'm just gonna. Okay, well, good luck with that." I mean, I'm assuming she would be like, "Yeah, it's yours, motherfucker," or something. I'm like, "Okay," and then I hung up, and then I called you, and then Faith's like, We've been together for like you guys. The math doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. And I'm
That's
like,
how girls think.
Oh yeah.
What was the time frame between the first tattoo and you guys kind of that living together?
That kiss. I think the kiss really, because that would be like when you guys were a couple,
maybe
right?
2-3 months.
Yeah, something like that. It could have been 4, but it probably was
because So I got tattooed for the first time in April. And we started dating in December. And I started working at the shop in October, I think.
And how many tattoos deep were you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I mean,
Six
tattoos.
We can measure this in tattoos.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of which now are, probably be covered or whatever.
Yeah.
It's my
And then how long until you guys, what's the next stage? Did you get engaged?
So he was renting from his dad, and I was still living with my parents and going to college. And then by July of the next year, we rented our own apartment.
Yeah.
Because him and his dad had a disagreement, and he like kind of temporary, like I don't think like he kicked him out, but
not really.
But not really.
My dad, he's got a big heart, so he called me the next day. Oh, I'm sorry.
But we moved really quickly. Like the next day, we had an apartment. Like he got kicked out, and we were like, because he was paying rent to his dad, so it's not like he couldn't just pay rent somewhere else. It was more.
Like that period of time, she was so organized and stuff. I was so bad at all that, she obviously being the type of person that she was, she can make things happen, which is a really great feature. Why we work together is she can make things happen. She's smart, in that way. So we were out pretty quickly, living, doing the thing.
Who said I love you first?
Ooh, that's
oh my God. We said we that typical young thing. I think we had been dating for like a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is December.
Yeah.
So many hormones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a chemical bath. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, I was blinded.
Yeah. We definitely, we were very like, it was just in maybe that's just both of our types of personalities, but it was, just so fast. We were both just, we were both just like, we were in it. Like there was never like, we did start officially dating, but it was like,
there's no commitment issues or anything like that. It was like,
we just wanted to be with each other all the time.
The passion was there. The passion was there. And also like, I would saw you as like, I could, why not, better than, why not? I mean, this is a type of person I would like to.
He wanted to have a baby
for
right
a long
away,
time.
too.
I was like,
before you guys were married.
Oh my God. Like, like I don't even think we had our own place yet. And he was like,
hormones,
let's just have a baby.
Hormones.
Let's have a baby. And I was like, I don't think so.
I had you convinced a little bit.
Like it was
full the goalie.
I also I have younger parents. My dad and my mother are on the younger side.
Oh yeah,
and I really valued that actually having a little bit of younger parents. So I had a thing in my mind very loosely that maybe I wanted to have a kid by the time I was 25.
How old were your parents when they had you?
Oh, 16?
18.
No, so they had
you said young.
Yeah.
Really young.
His
like
sister.
Whoops, that's sort of young.
Yeah, his sister was at 16 and he was at 18.
Yeah. So
so very young.
So I didn't want to mess my life up, but I didn't mind, and also, remember I'm my personality. I just wanted a person that I can rely on, that I loved, that I worked well with, that I can go about my business with. I wasn't a type of person that would be like, oh, there's something better over there though. I didn't care. I just wanted to confide in somebody that was, I worked well with, somebody that obviously that I was attracted to. And then once I found that, I was like, okay, let's get the show on the road.
We're definitely both like commitment monogamy people. Both just because I think we're both introverted in that we're just people that want to spend time with one, maybe two people. So, being in a relationship really fits our personality. We're homebodies, we're not very social. So we kind of commit fast.
So it was quick, but I like to think I try to think rationally, and all the while, as things move forward, I was like, well, this, there's no red flags here to me.
Chemical bath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you weren't seeing any.
Well, no, I think the red flags comment, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, there wasn't anything going off for you that you were like, no, this, I need to go, elsewhere.
Oh, what was that one fight about though that you had to get me a teddy bear? Do you remember that? What did you do? Is it something I want you to remember and then say in a public podcast?
Did I not defend you about something?
You didn't defend me about
this
something.
is another one of those things when you're trying to keep peace. I didn't defend her about
This is
something.
like his.
This is like your first conflict.
This was our very first.
We weren't even officially dating.
Yeah, we
yet.
weren't. No, we. Well,
I don't know,
you had
whatever.
broken up with your girlfriend, and I think she had been, talking some smack
she talked
about
some
me,
smack. Yeah.
and he told me, and I'm like, oh, but, and I don't remember what she said or anything like that, and I was like, did you defend me or anything? And he's like, oh.
At the time, I'm thinking. At the time, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, you won. I think. Maybe I should have defended you in retrospect, but at the time, I think what I was thinking was, I was telling you like, yeah, she's like talking shit about you, as in like she's
Intimidated
broken.
by
She's
you or
broken,
threatened by you.
Right. And I assumed that what she was saying was not rational, or it was just a product of what was happening. She didn't take it that way.
But like, why would you tell me?
She was angry. She was angry.
like down the line, if something like that happened, you'd confide in somebody. But
anyway, I'm at her house. We're chilling on the couch. I remember the shirt you were wearing. You're wearing some glittery fucking.
Oh, I remember that. I remember that sweatshirt now. Yeah.
And she's angry about this, and she's like not speaking. And I'm like kind of like playing with her dog a little bit. I'm just like, okay, this is awkward. And then I just looked at her after like a minute of silence. I'm like, you want me to leave? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, okay. And I left.
And then I was working at the shop still at that time. So I came into work the next day and I stayed at home. Like, we had been kind of, were we sleeping over at that point?
We were like going back and forth between each other's parents' houses and stuff.
How was meeting each other's parents?
Ooh, you can imagine how excited my parents were that I was dating a tattoo artist when they thought I was going to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company.
This is a tale of someone falling from grace.
Yeah. I would
dragging her down.
I would say like anybody in high school is just mind blown at where my life went. Like just like, oh, I'm confused. Like I thought you'd be, a doctor married to another doctor and have 2.5 kids in a nice house.
They just don't know that I'm a genius.
Yeah, my parents didn't really warm up. I don't even know if my dad.
Well, your dad is.
My
very
dad's not
silent
really
guy,
in the picture
Is that
much.
where the robot comes from?
Yes. Yes.
No, I think it might be from my mom.
They're both,
but
different models.
I don't think you won anybody over. It took a while for anybody to get on board.
I think I felt a little weird, not totally weird because it wasn't like inappropriate, but I was a little bit older. So I was like, I felt weird. I didn't know how to act in that situation. I was just quiet. I think I was respectful, but
I think you did well. It was just, you were never going to win. Like you came and this was almost 10 years ago. I came from a place where, tattoos are no. And
the first thing they see from you is that you shave your head, right?
Oh, yeah.
I could imagine that.
Oh, yeah.
That would be like the switch there.
Yeah, it was like, I don't think anybody thought we would stay together, because I had just been such a different person. And then I just like dove off a cliff. Like I started getting tattooed. I cut my hair short and then I shaved it. And I was dating a tattooist. Like it was like, what happened here?
But I wasn't trying to be provocative. I knew my place. I'm a tattoo artist. I know that being quiet and maybe letting my actions speak rather than my words would probably be the best way forward. On top of which, I don't want to talk to people because of my anxiety.
Let's put it this way. Like a few years after I was married to Polly, I was talking to my dad and he said, well, you guys kind of have to make it work because who would marry you now?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Like,
wow.
Yeah. Like a
salt of the earth.
Like if you have this many tattoos, you're not getting, because my parents, especially my father, I think wanted me to be dating somebody, you know, that typical, very successful, you know, he was a
conservative.
I will say that
he was a higher executive at Walmart, you know, just kind of, he has big oil friends, you know, that sort of culture.
Corporate ladder.
I think I will like to say that I think I've won them over a bit, or at least they've opened up their, well, I haven't even been around your dad.
Yeah, my dad, I didn't see for seven years.
Yeah.
Not because we had like a feud going on, just didn't. But yeah, that's kind of, I don't know if you'll ever truly win over my dad.
I like guns. He likes guns. That's all we need.
That's all
we don't need to tell. We're dudes. That's the thing.
Are you more politically aligned with him?
No.
Oh
my goodness, no.
But
just the guns.
Just the guns.
Just the guns.
Okay.
And but my dad hasn't seen him since
I was like, I had long
dating
hair
for 6 months. You know, because I didn't see him. He didn't meet my daughter.
He moved back to Northern Michigan.
Yeah, he didn't meet our daughter until she was 2, and then Polly wasn't there, and it was just like a 2-hour visit.
So your parents were separated or divorced?
Yeah, my parents have been divorced since I was 3, and then my dad's been remarried once and is still married, and then my mom's been remarried 2 more times, and now she's still married to her 3rd husband.
Okay.
And my parents have been split since, you know, early on, as you know, typical what happens in that situation.
Our relationship role models are probably a little
that's a good question. Like, what kind of messages have you learned about relationships?
I've learned so much. I think I'm better off having had the experiences with my mother, and she's been married a few times.
5 times.
My dad's been married a few times. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what not to do and a couple of things to do, but mostly what not to do. And I think the main thing that was in my head is that I need to make whatever marriage or whoever person, you know, the marriage that I end up in, I need to define it myself. That was the one thing that I took away from that, because when you have expectations of what marriage is, you then set yourself up to fail under that expectation. So, you know, to me, marriages were so messed up, relationships were so bad that all I had to do was make it something of my own, and then it wouldn't be that. I don't know if that really makes sense, really, but in my head, it made sense that I don't need to do it how they need to do it.
Instead of having bad habits, you just had none.
Exactly.
So you got to grow it.
Exactly.
So how did you guys get engaged?
Oh, this is the best story.
Oh boy.
So
it's weird.
It's very Paul Johnson.
As I do.
So I got a call at work. I was a barista at the time, and he calls me. We don't have health insurance. This is like
that's how you have to start the story.
This is a big thing in my brain all the time. Like the
logistics.
Polly's just been living without health insurance, and I got surprised that I got dropped off of health insurance, and I was like, I didn't even know, and I found out, and you know, me being a 40-year-old stuck in a 19-year-old body, this is what I stressed
about. Is this
about.
Your parents' insurance that you dropped off?
Yeah. So my dad, I guess, didn't want to pay for me to be on it anymore, so he's pretty non-confrontational, and I just found out through like a letter that I wasn't on it anymore. And so I was like, this is what I stressed about all day is that like, I don't have health insurance. Polly doesn't have health insurance. Like nothing can happen, you know, like don't get into a car accident, don't trip and fall. And so I get a call and he's like,
I strung a little,
so high strung. And he's
like, Chihuahua.
He's like, hey, I shot myself in the foot with a crossbow. And the tattoo, So the tattoo shop he worked at, they set off quarter sticks of dynamite, like sent a Weber grill like 100 feet in the air, like so like him shooting himself in the foot with a crossbow wasn't like what?
It was like
a surprise.
It was like it
was a mini crossbow, a very powerful mini crossbow.
Of course. And so I'm just like, you better clean that out real well because you're not going to the doctor. You don't have health insurance.
Hope you have some iodine over there.
Did I send you a picture?
Rinse that out with some saline right now.
Didn't I send you a picture?
I think you sent me a picture of his shoe bloody with a hole in it. And so
Awesome.
oh gosh, that smack. Sorry about that. Anyway, so he
See who's irritating who now.
My misophonia is
Stop it.
and so he comes in, this shop that I was a barista at was, privately owned, so extremely casual. And so he would come in after he was done and just hang out there. So he comes limping in. I'm like going to need a Xanax at any minute about this.
Like I told her,
issue.
I told her it was a through and through. I mean, like through the foot.
So he's got a hole in his shoe. There's
And
blood.
a hole in his foot too.
Yeah. And he's limping around. There's blood on his shoe. And I'm just like, okay. Like, what are we going to do? And so we get home and he's like, you got to change the bandage. Like, I can't look at it again. Like, it's so bad. Like, you have to handle this. I can't look at it. And so I take off his shoe. His hole has a sock in it and it's bloody. He's got a bandage on his foot.
I mean if you're going to do it, right?
And so I take off the sock. I actually kept the sock for a while. I might actually still have it. And
Frame that.
and I'm unwrapping this whole bandage he's got on his foot, just waiting for this hole in his foot.
I feel the anxiety that I felt in that moment right now.
And I unwrap it all, and he's got the ring on his toe. And he just
Obscure.
he just looks at me and smiles. And I'm like,
Which toe?
It wasn't your.
That's a good question.
It was. I think
Because I'm like, the big toe is way too big.
It was like the ring. Your ring finger toe.
Nice.
And he, at the time, we weren't planning on getting married. Like, it was just kind of like, not like I don't think we ever planned on getting married.
That's not true.
No, we were
That's
planning.
false.
You didn't ask me.
You're a liar. That's fake news.
I made him.
It's unreal.
I made him ask me because like he just sat there and smiled at me.
Wait,
I was like,
wait.
this is my moment.
Was there a hole in your foot or not?
No.
This was staged. This is the weirdest way
That was the whole
to
thing.
do this. And granted, I'm at the shop. I'm at the shop, and I'm kind of too embarrassed to tell anybody that at the shop that's really what I'm doing. I'm just telling them that I'm going to prank Faith, but I'm too embarrassed to be like, I'm going to go propose to her. Mostly because we're a little young and I was a little,
Well, and we'd only been dating for 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year.
We'd been together for
it was pretty quick.
One year exactly. Maybe?
So you're like 22 or 23? She's 20.
I'm 19.
Oh.
And he's 23 or 24 because we're like 4.5 years apart. No, when we got married, I was 19. And no, so we got engaged 11 months after we started dating because we got married a year after we started dating. And so
you were engaged for a month.
That's a separate story.
So
I need the chalkboard up here because these numbers are flying all over.
So essentially, she had mentioned, getting married here and there, like kind of in a fun way, bowling me like here and there. I don't mentioning getting married. You did.
See, I don't remember
That's the
ever
reason why I
wanting
did
to
it.
be married ever.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's the reason. I mean, I would have done it anyway, probably, but that's the reason I decided to go ahead and do it because you were talking about. I'm like, well, why not?
But you asked me to be your life partner. You didn't ask me to get married. You said, will you be my life partner?
When was that?
That's so progressive.
It is, isn't it?
Because you just stared at me and I said,
the look on her face when she saw the ring was she looked up at me and she's just like, in her eyes said, what?
Yeah,
she wasn't excited. She wasn't, which was to me was the best ever. The best ever to have the reaction be like, what does this mean? What are you doing? I'm like, yeah. Ultimate confusion.
But you didn't ask me to marry you. You asked me to be your life partner.
Well, I was probably saying maybe putting a twist on it. The goal was to marry you. I mean, it was
quite a twist.
I thought for some reason that we didn't want to get married. I thought that was like a
that's not a thing. I mean, maybe it was a thing in your head. But
might have been
too late now.
And then I was working at a job where I got really good benefits, and my chronic anxiety about health insurance, and so I got insurance, and I mean, like on a Monday, I got insurance, and I was like, so we got to get married because you have a toothache, and that's going to be expensive if,
That's a
we have
problem
to
being
pay.
a tattooist is the insurance thing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so on a Monday, I got insurance, and on a Friday, 4 days later, we got married.
Wait. He is proposing to you with the ring on his toe, with blood all over the place.
Yeah,
and
fake
it's
blood.
fake
Keep
blood
it cleanly.
thing. What did you say? Did you say yes?
She said,
Yeah.
she said, are you going to get on your knee and ask? That's what she said.
Yeah, because he just
she made me
looked
do
at
it.
me like
Did you do it?
first
Yeah,
I
I
was
did. I did.
and that's when you asked me to be your life or the life
The
partner.
life partner.
So-
That probably just came out because I was flustered,
Yeah, because he thought like that was the end of the line, was that he was like, so I got the ring. And
Well,
I'm like,
it's just a weird way of doing it anyway. I don't know.
And I'm like, so are we gonna like you gotta ask the question too? Like you can't just stare at me and I'll be like, oh, so
She got real sassy.
we're agreeing on this.
It's a mutual agreement.
And a key part of Polly in a relationship is that he didn't get the ring that he knew I wanted.
Oh.
He got the ring that he combined it. He compromised. He got the ring.
Okay.
He got the ring
Okay.
that he wanted
Here it
and that
comes.
I wanted combined.
Here's the thing.
Wait.
Okay.
You wanted
Here's the
a
thing.
ring
Okay.
for her?
Because he's so he's an
I'm
artist.
He's artistic.
I'm
So
very
he's so-
opinionated
he's so
about
visual.
design sometimes.
yeah.
And in
This would look
retrospect,
better on your finger.
it was a mistake. That was a dumb thing to do. Why would I care what ring she would want? But I remember
Well,
seeing a ring.
well, why would
Yeah.
why would you care about the
Yeah.
ring? You wanted.
I looked at the ring and I went, oh, that's unique and cool. And again, probably, subconsciously going back into the different thing, is that was always in my head about everything. That's why I got, because I thought it was super cool. I thought you would like it, which you did, right?
Yeah.
You liked it.
I think it grew
Not
on
as
me.
much as the one you wanted.
Yeah.
See why?
It was-
How did you know what ring you wanted if you didn't plan on getting married?
It was kind of like Tattoo 3. Well, how about this?
Exactly. That's exactly.
It was very sweet that he compromised on the ring and got us the
That
ring
was very like.
What was the differences? What was the ring inspiration?
So I wanted just a band of diamonds, just like those little tiny diamonds. I didn't want a big ring. I didn't want like a very engagement-y ring, just a tiny band of diamonds. And he got a tiny band of diamonds with like swoops of metal coming off of it. So
No, it didn't. They didn't line up. So they went like this. You know those rings that don't. It's not a complete circle. It like they pass each other a little bit.
Mhm.
Like if you were to take like this, and I thought that was really cool.
It
looked like
was-
it was stretched around.
I would say now I appreciate it, and I'm like, oh,
because he
that
got
was-
better
that
taste.
was-
Because you've been married to me for long
or
enough.
maybe
That's what it is.
maybe
She
I'm
grew
just
into it.
I'm just now like
She's got a refined eye.
yeah you've refined it to things that you like, and
I mean,
it's true.
Whatever.
So now I appreciate it, but at the time, I think I was probably like pretty upset.
I think you were just happy that I didn't spend more than whatever
Yeah,
amount
you
of
can
money.
imagine
She's
how
so
conservative I am about
so
money.
so money tight. Just like everything you could think
I
of.
am a chihuahua in a person. Like
Yeah.
that's
Very
me. Just
nervous
just
about
kind of like
everything.
if I could, I would probably just be shaking all the time.
Yeah. And
So,
I was,
so how long were you guys engaged?
A month,
yeah.
less than a month.
Before getting married?
Well,
Mhm.
because we weren't really planning on getting married. Like
Oh,
it was
yeah,
more
yeah.
like I just wanted. I think at the time, just I wanted like that the commitment, but like we didn't really have any real plans to get married because we weren't into weddings or anything. Like I never wanted a wedding, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I again, just I wanted it to be my own thing. I really liked the idea of getting married and having it be about us, for us, and not involving more people because what is that? What do they have to do with what's going on? Anyway, we were doing something together. I liked that idea. I liked the idea of stripping away all of the distractions from what getting married actually, what it becomes sometimes, and having it be this whole thing, and just to be about being together and committing. I really liked that about that And I still do. I still value that. I mean,
Where did you guys get married?
at the courthouse.
King County Courthouse.
Yeah, we
Was anyone there or just the two of you?
Yeah, so
my dad and my mom.
my mom came through really nicely on this one. So we weren't like the engaged couple where you call your mom and you start planning on how you're going to ask your bridesmaids and set a date. Like we got engaged and it was just like, and probably everybody discounted it because we'd been together for 11 months.
Is she pregnant?
Yeah. Oh, everybody thought I was pregnant.
Yeah,
And so I got the insurance and I was like, okay, we're getting married then because you got to have health insurance before I die of a heart attack. But at least I would have had health insurance to go to the hospital at that point. And so
that was the motivator.
I called my mom. Well, and I think we were just, like from the moment, we started dating, like I think we were in our heads,
it just felt right. It just felt like okay,
you guys were committed already.
Yeah,
we were
just
just
that's it.
yeah, like it wasn't a big like a big move to get married. It was just like okay,
it felt
it
natural.
already was.
For
and it
felt
just defined
natural.
it.
Yeah, for me it was probably a little logistical with the health insurance there.
Did you wear anything special?
Yeah, so I called my mom.
Like the Friday before we went shopping.
Yeah, no, I went shopping on Thursday and got married on Friday.
Oh, okay, whatever.
Because it was on a Monday. I called my mom and I was like, so we're getting married. And she was like, do you want me to be there? And I was like,
if you want.
Yeah, I guess. And so I called my dad and I told him, and they weren't going to come down. I think they had like 6-month-old twins at the time. Yeah. And it was, I called him I probably called him on the Wednesday to tell him I was getting married on the Friday. And I went shopping on a Thursday. And I still have it hanging in the closet, just like
we looked like we were in the 50s almost.
Yeah, like just like a little lace, and I might have shopped for him, a little lace dress that was short and very casual, like.
But it was super classy.
Yeah,
it was classy.
It was very, I think, good for a courthouse wedding, like not too dressy, and it wasn't. I think it was off-white even.
Yeah, I wore like a. What did I wear? I wore like a long sleeve
vest. Not a sweater vest. You wore a sweater
we looked like,
with the button-up shirt underneath and like slacks.
We looked like alumni at a very expensive college at a party. You know what I mean? That's kind of how we looked.
All right, we need a picture of that.
Oh my gosh!
It is on Facebook.
I think we looked pretty good. I think it was a triumph.
I think it was like the perfect thing for deciding on a Monday to get married on a Friday at a courthouse. Like we pulled through nicely. Yeah. We didn't wear jeans and a t-shirt, but I wasn't gonna, buy a wedding dress to go to the courthouse.
Her mom showed up. Was it a surprise?
It was on sale for $30 too. I would like to point that out. I did only shop right
in your wheelhouse.
Yes,
very practically.
Yes, and my mom showed up, and because I'm not a wedding person, and
I don't think you need to be a wedding person to know this, but she brought a cake, and we're like.
Okay. Oh, a cake.
Oh, a cake. Of course.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't even think of a cake.
Yeah,
we were like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, we were like, oh, good. My mom brought a cake. She brought the
something blue, all that
stuff. And then she brought champagne. Yeah, I mean, like literally,
she helped it make a thing.
She brought the party.
She made it. She made it cute, and just my mom came, and then your mom and dad.
Yep.
And I think that was it.
Yeah, we went and we got married, and then afterwards we went out to
for sushi.
To sushi, and then
perfect.
We went home, and then we were like, okay,
yeah,
that's it. We're married.
All right, I have a 3-part question. You can take your time and think. The best love tattoos you've ever seen, the worst love tattoos, and do you guys have one? A matching one or something that's meaningful?
So I can answer the last one first.
Okay.
So when we started dating, we started calling each other Cuddlebug, and then we shortened it to C-Bug. And now we just call each other Bug. Like we still call each other Bug.
Well, you called me that because I'm that way. I get in bed and I just want to like do that, and she's she's a robot, so she's just like I I don't understand. Get away from me. You know,
let it happen.
Yeah, she lets it happen.
It's
very.
Penguin
So
hug.
if you can imagine us in bed,
We're back to the penguin
moment.
hug.
Yeah.
Wait. I don't know if we want to do that.
it's her laying there trying to sleep because she doesn't get enough sleep, and it's me going trying to cuddle up on her, and she's like, God damn it.
Yeah, like I have a rule because I get such bad sleep. Like, just get into bed and don't touch me because I'll wake up.
Well, that's not the rule. It's just don't wake me up.
Yeah, just don't wake, which is don't touch me because, well, and we go to bed
I'm sure he's found out how to touch you without waking you up.
Yeah.
Well, we go to bed at vastly different times. Like I go to bed at 9 and he goes to bed at 4 a.m.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Now he goes to bed at like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
But he can't not cuddle. Like he
I
cannot.
don't know what it is.
Like he would
I don't know what
just
it is.
slowly and just wait until he's at least pressing up against me.
I don't know.
And
It's
I'm just
comforting.
like he can't
I don't
not do
know.
it. And
I'm
That's great.
You know, I'm a cuddle bug and I'm not afraid to say it. And everybody's judging me here. No, I'm just kidding.
and so we
Don't touch me, just tattoo me all the time.
So back to the question. We do not have.
We don't
a
have them,
matching tattoo.
but we have them kind of planned very loosely. Like I think maybe for a 10-year anniversary, because we know about tattoos and how
Right.
they're permanently on your body, and marriage is not as actually permanent as
I'm not even that
tattoos
worried
sometimes.
about that. It's
not-
more like tattoos for us. I'd rather get, instead of wasting an area on, I live with her. She, I know what the relationship's about. I live through it. The tattoos for me are pieces of artwork within themselves. So it's almost like
this would be a piece of artwork.
Yeah. It depends on what
You
it
digressed.
Is, but, okay,
so
whatever.
we made a drawing.
digress.
I was always I really like ladybugs, and so he made a drawing one day of one of us made a drawing of a sea bug, and it's a ladybug with tentacles.
It's like an underwater lady.
Yeah. And so that's kind of in our heads always been that if we ever get a couple's tattoo, we're going to get the ladybug with tentacles.
Wait, you guys haven't gotten it yet?
No, I've always been like, maybe. See, the problem is like I'm big on surprises. Like I'm really good at planning surprises.
She's so good at it.
Yeah. So like, for me, I'm like
a bloody foot engagement?
Not that good.
That's been like maybe the only
More
surprise.
orchestrated, maybe. More orchestrated.
And so, for me, it's like I'd like it to be a surprise, but like, how do you do it? And now at this point, I should probably do his. So now I have to get good enough where I can tattoo him, because before it's like he should do mine, but now I have to schedule with somebody to do his. And who does he want it by? And how do I schedule it? And what if we get to the day and he's like, oh, but
it's also like we're never thinking about tattoos.
You should do his.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
she's gonna do.
But,
she's gonna.
But that's only like a new thing.
It depends on what the tattoo, what is involved with the tattoo and what she can execute.
I've got to get a lot better because I want it to be. It's got to be a great tattoo.
And how long have you guys been married?
7 years.
So you got 3 more years.
Wheels return.
You got 3 more years to figure that out.
I've always thought that like maybe we would do something for, like, we thought about renewing our vows for our 10-year, but I also thought about that with our 5-year, and that just kind of blew by. So like, I don't know if when we get to the 10-year, if it's gonna be anything, because in your head it's kind of a thing, but 5 was kind of a thing, and now I'm like.
Also, sometimes, and I'll the other parts of the question. It's hard to find a tattoo that is good with couple tattoos, because
I did a good one.
When it comes to it, I think for the general public, I'm sure there's a lot, right? But from my perspective, I don't care. This is going to sound terrible. I don't care what your tattoo's about. I don't care what your tattoo's about. It's the last thing I care about. What I care about are the objects that are in the tattoo. I mean, I may care if you're not sure what you want, I'll help you reach a creative point where you're putting objects in the tattoo that are a creative and unique way of describing that. But what I care about is the artwork. So I want the tattoo to look good. Depending on what it is, I want it to be 3-dimensional. I want it to be bright. I want to see it from far away. So those are the things that make people, when you're walking down the street, go, "Oh, holy shit, your tattoo's awesome." That's what I'm interested in. Mm-hmm. So when people come to me with couple tattoos, I'm like, "Okay, what do you want?" I'm not super interested, and this isn't some things a thing that other tattoo artists don't do. I do not talk people out of getting a couple tattoos. First of all, because this is America. And if you're 18,
this is
America. And you have the liberty to do whatever you want after the age of 18. So I don't refuse to do any tattoo. If an 18-year-old walks in and it sounds bad, but I think it's right, and they want a face tattoo. Face tattoos, I'll say, are you sure you want to tattoo your face? And I'll look them dead in the eye. Are you sure you want to do that? And if they say it, yeah, I go, okay, cool. And then the law says you're 18, you're free to make your own decisions. Okay. And if you end
your
up
own mistakes.
But I've seen people get a lot of tattoos at a young age that it fueled them to become the person that they are. It empowered them.
Interesting.
A lot of times because they went all in. And now they're like, okay, now I got to be the person that I really want to be. And I got to work to get there because I got all these tattoos. And then I see people that don't do that fail at that, or I don't know, but they just seem like they might. And to me, it's like, you're just a sacrificial lamb. You're another person walking around with an exposed tattoo, and it makes the society look at tattooing in a better light because more people have tattoos. And it's not I'm nobody's dad. It's not my decision. That's an individual's decision, even if I don't agree with it. So yeah. So name tattoos, I just do them. Some people will talk people out of doing that. However, recently, I had a client that came in with this dude wanted a caricature of his girlfriend on his arm. So like a kind of a portrait.
Wow.
And I'm like, I instantly had a flash of what it would look like in my head. I'm like, awesome. This is going to be good. It's going to be fun to look at. It's going to be her, but it's going to be, it's kind of like a bigger head, like a bobblehead. It's kind of cartoony.
So caricature, not portrait.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So she was like carrying books and walking downstairs, and it was very Art Deco. There was some like weird patterns and stuff in the background, very artsy, very cool. And it was a great tattoo. And then maybe, I don't know how long was it?
Like 3 weeks.
3 weeks. I get a message. Hey, what do you think it would?
Can you change the color of the eyes?
What do you think it would take to cover this? And I'm like, well,
she didn't like it apparently.
See, they broke up.
That was a desperate attempt, probably.
No, she got a tattoo for him, but it wasn't no fucking face.
Yeah,
it was like a quote with a ship and a bottle or some shit.
Yeah.
So he actually ended up getting it removed. I'm like, he's in the process of getting it removed. I'm like, I could change. It's a great tattoo. That's what I was bummed about. And actually what he was bummed about too, because he was so happy. It was a cool tattoo.
Right.
It looked cool. I'm like, damn, man, it's such a cool tattoo. I hate to like have it get rid of it. He's like, yeah, no. I'm like, I could like change the face. I could put like a mask on her, like some sort. I could just change it in a way where you just have some other type of tattoo. And he's like, he just wanted the memory gone, which was, I think, is the bad way to go because, you'll
get over it.
You'll just have a different cool tattoo. It's fun.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
But he went through the process of getting it removed and still is. The couples tattoo thing, I don't know.
I think, I don't know. That's just.
I will say, if you're going to do it, this is general tattoo advice. If you're going to get a couples tattoo, don't do names. Not because you don't want somebody else's name on you necessarily, but there's so many more aesthetically better things you can put on your body. Because at the end of the day, nobody regrets a tattoo that, well, I guess that kid did, but nobody really regrets a tattoo that looks good. People regret tattoos that look bad. You could have something on your body,
say a specific name.
If you you have something on your body that represents something, a time in your life where it's just cringy to you now. If it's an awesome tattoo, people don't care. They're just like, yeah, it's the thing. I don't know. It's cool. But if you have,
you're kind of like the elephant on my side.
Yeah.
Why? But it still looks good.
Yeah,
so
it's the image is good.
We can leave it there.
But script, any sort of lettering or font robs you of the artistic part of it.
Sometimes,
not completely.
Not always.
You can have a cool looking name tattoo, but at the end of the day, people aren't. What the first thing is, they read it. They don't look at it and appreciate it as a. So I would say for anybody that's listening out there, is get an object, figure out a memory.
Symbolism.
Get
Symbolism
something,
is
and I
huge.
think getting, I like people's stories. So when they do something original is what I really like. People that do something that like our idea of the sea bug. Something that's meaningful to them, not like the lock and key. Sorry if you have a lock and key tattoo.
We do
those
not.
Could be those
Our
could
story,
be cool,
we
though.
actually had one of those kind of stories.
They can
really?
they can look cool.
Yeah, they can be cool,
but they're
actually.
not original.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, I
But
guess
it's like-
you could make it original.
There's this weird thing where like there's a you try to figure out, if you're not in the tattoo industry, you try to figure out what you want to get, right? And what you do is you go online and you type in whatever it is you want.
Couples
and
tattoos.
You put tattoo at the end,
Yeah.
And then you download all this information and then you come up with something for yourself. And human beings are not good at just coming up with things organically out of nowhere. We data chunk.
Yeah.
So that's what people do is they data chunk.
Recombo.
They download it and then they figure out what is good for them. So I don't really blame people, but like
and they don't know that you just did that tattoo an hour ago. Like,
yeah.
Like in your
Sometimes
head,
I'll tell people like, "You sure you want to do that?" I did that like 4 times this week, and then they're like, "Oh, really?"
Oh, live, laugh, love.
Yeah.
When
that-
I was working at the
tattoo.
shop, somebody every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Every day,
Yeah.
at least once a day. Like on Saturdays,
So
sometimes
original.
people would be getting that same tattoo at the same time.
At the same time. Yeah.
And so it's like to us, it's like
And everybody's got has an excuse for why they're getting it.
Right.
Like, oh, my
Yeah.
grandma loved to
It's
live.
their
that
reason.
way.
which I guess
sure.
it's kind of like just
But
random judgment. too,
people
on our
look at
part.
something.
Like,
people
why?
people grab something offline and they say, okay, this is safe. People have this. I know somebody has it.
Mhm.
It's a thing. So that they're not going to feel alienated if they get something original and all their friends are like, what is that?
See, that's a
You
big
know?
thing. Like when you get
Yeah.
like cool
So
tattoos,
there's safety in doing a
People-
tattoo like that.
people don't get it. And then once one person says, "Oh, why?" Then they
get weird
they
about
text
it.
you and they're like, "Can you change it? Can you change it to like something like
they don't want to
they
be
don't know.
rejected.
like
Yeah, it's
one
really
one
it's strange.
person?" Yeah,
I mean, it's not strange. It's a part of how people's brains work. But people aren't in the business of originality in that way.
And I think there's very few things in life you just can't change.
Yeah.
And tattoos are pretty permanent.
Yeah.
It's like whatever you decide at this age is going to be there.
Well,
A lot
it's
of things
interesting.
can
I mean,
change.
the whole act of getting tattooed is that you want to be independent. You want to stand out as unique,
Exactly.
right? But then people they don't want to be
But
rejected.
they want to be accepted.
Exactly.
Right. So how do you ride that line there?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the thing is, how you do that is you find a tattoo artist that's good. You do your first you do your research on who you get tattooed by, and then you go to them with your idea, and then you allow them to come up with something. And
listen to the
and be
professional.
open.
Yeah, I think
be
that's really
open to
true. If
ideas.
Right.
you're going to an artist, let them work how they want to work.
Exactly.
If you like their work, that's awesome.
Yep.
We went and had our lighthouse tattoo, and he got his first, and then I was
This
like,
is when we started the company, the Lighthouse.
So this is a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Long time ago. So the company's been going on 16 years now. So yeah.
Wow.
So we started it in 2002. This is probably 2003.
So
we got
you've
these
owned a
tattoos.
company for 16 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
And then he gets his tattoo, and I'm like, ew. And I'm supposed to get the matching one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ew.
It was
We've
a
had it
place
worked
in the
on
city that was
several times. You did the last work on his.
Yeah.
actually you framed it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
And I had mine completely
I like
reworked.
added to it and stuff.
Oh, you framed it in that
Yes.
way. Okay. Oh,
The original one was this big. It was just the very center.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really bad.
And that, I don't blame you. For all the things I complain about tattooing, at the end of the day, I can't really blame people because it's just how I can't expect everybody to. Oh, there it is. It's a really nice tattoo, actually.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Okay, so last question.
All right.
What is it that your partner does that you know they love you?
20-minute pause. We leave. We text them the response later.
You hear keys jingling. It's got to be.
I think for me, I think we've, especially in having a baby was like detonating a nuclear bomb in our lives and our marriage.
Oh God.
So I feel like we've gotten a lot better at marriage since we've had Sable, because it destroyed it, and then we had to figure out how to rebuild that. So I think I'm the one who had the baby.
It destroyed you.
It destroyed you. I was an angry person.
It destroyed. I mean, it didn't destroy you, but there was just so much lack of sleep and tension and stuff. I felt like, I think this happens a lot. I think this happens a lot. You have a baby, and you see your significant other, your wife, taking care of this baby in a very physical, real way, and then as a dude, you're like, okay. Where do I, what's my role?
What can I do?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, she could have told me 1,000 things that I could have done according to her. What I decided to do, or what felt natural, is to try to focus on making sure that we have a future. So at that time, I got really motivated career-wise, which is probably common, I would guess. Mm-hmm. So yeah, answer the question.
Yeah. So I think before you have a baby, I'm a person, and I think we're both people that didn't communicate before we had a baby. Like if he did something that made me mad, I didn't communicate it well, or I would just hold it inside and just be angry. And there's not enough going on in your life that you kind of had to confront that. You can make it work while also not having healthy habits in the marriage. But once you have a baby, you better...
Yeah, everything else has to be working properly.
Everything is so hard that stuff blows up.
I'm really glad you said that, because I get to hear that a lot. And women feel so guilty that it isn't like in the movies and you're just la, 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 and nobody talks about it. Everyone feels it. Yeah. They don't feel like they did the birth well. They don't feel like they adjusted well. And it's a hard thing to adjust to. And it's a hard thing to go through.
Well, let me tell you, that's one thing that we talk a lot about.
Yeah, we're really open about the struggles of having a child.
We are, I guess, realists in a sense. So when we had a baby, we're looking around, we're like, why isn't this fucking sucks? Why isn't everybody talking about the fact that this sucks? And we would tell people, because I would tell my clients, I would have a client that sits down that has kids, and I'd be like, this fucking sucks. This is terrible. And you can feel people resist that for a little bit.
Sure, they do.
Little bit. Right. And then after a while they get comfortable, and then they start talking about how bad it sucks. And I think it's super unhealthy that people do that, because if you're trying to live an objective life, which is the goal, I think, you can't have something that big happen and everybody's pretending. Yeah. Why is everybody pretending?
Because you're torn. You're torn between loving your kid at the same time grieving the loss of your couplehood, right? And the independence as a couple.
Of your childhood,
sure,
to some degree,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and just everybody wants to be like a good mom and stuff, and it's hard to.
Well, especially with the culture now with moms,
it takes a nuanced approach to look at somebody that says, "Oh, this fucking sucks," and still think that they're a good mother, and that is totally a reality.
Sure, right,
and it's maybe arguably that's being a better mom, is being open and honest with people about the experience, because then that helps other people, and you're not lying to yourself. You don't have this conflict in your own mind,
Correct. Right.
Or the disclaimer that before you can ever complain about your kid, you're like, oh, I really love them, but that whole thing.
We have very dark humor when it comes to
that's also kind of a problem too.
Is that part of the knowing you're loved thing, is being able to share at that level?
Yeah, I think so. Well,
to answer that question, to go back with, I think, we had to learn how to communicate a lot better, which meant communicating what we needed from that other person and what we wanted. I think before we had a kid, we were afraid to say what exactly we wanted to feel loved. We just felt unloved because the other person didn't do the things that we wanted them to do, which if you don't tell them, they can't read your mind.
Yeah.
And so I think after we just got more practical about marriage and making each other happy. And, my love language, it's not his love language. Like, I would do things for him, but that's not what he wanted. Like, I kept being like, look how much I love you.
Cuddle bug.
And he like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we were both just speaking different languages at each other constantly. And, that caused so many problems. So we got, better at communication and just more practical of like, I don't want to cuddle, but to make him feel loved, I'll cuddle. Whereas before, I would be like, no, I don't want to do that, but I'll clean the house for you because that's what I wanted him to do. He would cuddle me because that's what he wanted, and I would clean the house because that's what I wanted.
Which is typical physical things versus other
I would
things,
say
male-female thing.
When he wants to show me that he loves me, he does the dishes and cleans the house. And then I'm like, okay, when you do something that you don't like, they don't want to do it and they do it for you. I think that's the nicest thing that you can do for your partner.
I'm gonna change that, I think, because I don't necessarily, I think what I did,
just like the wedding ring.
Yeah. I think
I see the pattern here.
I think what I did is I heard that a little bit more, and then I tried to change my behavior at the core. So if I know that she feels love, let's say, from those things, that I need to be a person that does those things more in and of myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because then I'm not being like, oh, I got to do this for her. If I, because it's not a bad thing to change.
Right.
Being, I don't know, whatever, more organized, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. But I think that's,
you learn to want to do it.
Exactly. And I think she's done the same thing, which I think is the more real fundamental part about it and why things have gone so well for us, But I think the reason I know that she loves me is because of all the issues that I've had with anxiety. I mean, not as much anymore, but it was such a burden. I mean, and she's never thought twice about doing what, I mean, you should get her occasional eye roll, but she's always helped fill in the gaps where I couldn't do what I needed to do. Or if, she's always been there and never even, I don't think I'm sure she's thought about it, but she's never shown to me that she would be anything other than helpful with that, which is, it's gotta be, because it's, being on the inside from my perspective, I'm so distracted by it that sometimes I don't think, I do think a little bit, but I can't even wrap my head around her point of view because of how, fucked up I'm being in some moments, and I can't even wrap my head around my own reality around me. I'm down to my balance and me seeing objects, it's crazy. So in times where I'm not having anxiety and I think about her position there, and just, I would be so annoyed if that didn't happen to me. And let's say, Faith, you had those problems.
Oh my God.
I would constantly be like, oh, just fucking get over it. Like, what are you freaking out about? Like, who gives a shit? Like, just go wait in line at the bank. Just sit there, you idiot. What's going to happen? Just fucking go. It's so annoying. And that's how I know, amongst other things, sure, of course. But I would say in general, as a whole, and something that I would want to tell other people, I don't know if we have it right. That's a very abstract thing, I'm sure, as you guys probably know. Sure. But the thing that has made our relationship work is probably the same values that make all things in life work. And it was on purpose. And that's being objective about the problems that are in front of you. More as I became an adult and I became interested in different things, like science and reason and all the things that I'm into now, it taught me that being objective is so incredibly important that it can change your entire life. So like being objective about your relationship, although it is extremely hard, is so important, because if you can really look at your own behavior and realize your faults in your own behavior, you lift the burden off of the other person for trying to convince you of that. And if you're not being objective and you're acting too emotionally and you're just being reactive, then, you know, it's just a war. It's a war of emotions. And I know that when we talk about issues, although, you know, very rarely, but sometimes we'll argue. I know that at the end of the day, her objective is to solve problems. My objective is to solve problems, because I can entrust the fact that she's being objective. So even if we're being emotional, even if we're being over the top, I never have the feeling of, you know, that so many people do, because so many people, they'll name call and they'll try to make people, their partner, feel a certain way in order to win an argument. And if you don't have the understanding of objectivity in the relationship and having that be a core to it, then it's just not, there's no real foundation. It can go anywhere. You can end up divorced. You can end up smacking the shit out of each other. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's the reality of it. So, and I'm going to, you know, continue down that path. It's only made my life better in every aspect, is trying to be rational and looking at everything with a sense of trying to really solve the problem instead of putting so much more emotion into each thing. So,
Paul and Faith, we want to wholeheartedly thank you guys for being on the podcast today.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
This was really an awesome interview.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
We get wounded through relationship and we heal through relationship. And people have been sharing stories since the beginning of time to bond and learn. And we hope that by you guys sharing your story, it's enriched your relationship and the relationships of our listeners.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
For all you listening, if you have any questions or topic suggestions, please, again, feel free to leave a comment or look us up online at couplesynergy.com. Until next time, synergize your life, synergize your love.
You have been listening to Couple Synergy with Dr. Ray and Jean Kedkodian. Couple Synergy was recorded, edited, and produced by Dr. Ray and Jean Kedkodian. Voiceover and music entitled Breathe and Let Go was recorded and composed by Gina Gonzalez.